Okay, hello, good afternoon. Um, what's your name?
My name is Victor Manuel Cabrera Andrade,
Okay, how old are you?
46 years old.
And where are you from?
I am from Mexico.
Okay, thank you. For my project today, we're going to be talking about the acceleration of climate change. And I'm here to interview you and get to know your perspective and opinions about the acceleration of climate change. Okay, so to start with the subject, can you please tell me what is your perspective on the acceleration of climate change?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Acceleration for climate change has been, it is a driver or a behavior from countries to commitment of for sustainability, I believe. No, there has been a huge um, trend across what the importance of global warming.
Yeah,
And one of the things of that is mainly impacting is the amount of CO2 that is being um, generating by the industrial movement across the world. No? So one of the things that you can see a as a path forward is that governments are not 100% committed in order to make a change. So that really makes it very hard for uh, to reduce the pace moving forward on global warming. It has been global efforts being led by like the United Nations or led um, that applause and also try to generate um, the commitment across the reduction of CO2 emissions. So the carbon footprint that is also generated by the trends of this technology certainly it has to be maintained or sustained with the uh, economic uh, stimulus that could sort of help industries to survive. No,
yeah,
right now it's not very sustainable to have solar energy. No, batteries are very expensive.
yeah,
The economical stimulus has to in terms of also um, the uh, other alternative of energy generation is very low as well. So this really we see efforts globally like the Treaty of Paris back in 2015, but also one of the things that we see in terms of lack of commitment, the United States back up um, because of this industrial economical war that they currently are uh, fighting. No, China has not really made a full commitment with no very transparent figures of what is the global warming commitments that they currently occur. India is also a huge driver. So if we don't have those three economies actually being or making these um, firm commitments towards the rest of the world, certainly the little efforts that you and I can actually make can contribute, but that's not going to be making the change moving forward. No? So that I believe that's one of the things that is keeping us away from effects of global warming as we can clearly see. No.
yeah, yeah, I agree. We can try to make a change, but like you said, like the powers in the world, like we need them, like China, the US, India, all those countries, we need them to contribute and to actually try to make a change, so that we can try to stop or at least progress in this subject, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. How did you acquire this perspective?
Well, um, one of the things is to look into your environment, right? One of the things that you understand and try to see how seasons across the year actually change. No, it has to actually make some sense. No, the other thing is Mexico being in a global position where we see a lot of effects of hurricanes and weather change. You see that impact as well. No, the facing of some of those seasons across the year also is also very impactful, and you see how heavily now winter is, how much that actually impacts, how early in this stage actually comes in. We start seeing that right now in the north part of the world, where Inlandia or the United States actually start having some heavy snowstorms already, so it's very early in the year, and you see right now we are in the hurricane with letter C, that really represents that we already have the 29 hurricanes across Caribbean, before that, so you certainly see those change. You don't have to be a super scientist in order to start to figuring that out. You also are related also in terms of things such as uh, uh, the impact, like the expectations, like the slowdown that right now with the pandemic we have been surviving, that we have been seeing on in the day to day, with the expectation that we will see that this will help the global warming to slow down. And actually, the figures are were just meaningful for the second half of first quarter this year, and also for the second quarter. But as starting the economy is starting to back up, you see this whole thing is starting to make the swing.
Yeah.
Um, so that's certainly it's something that economically, the world is being driven by so, some economic superpower that actually uh, demands that the industry cannot just collapse. Industry has to move forward. So um, that piece actually is actually allowing us to be more sensible in terms of the effects of this global warming, as an
Yeah.
example.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I was thinking right now about what you said about the pandemic, and I'd like to know what's your opinion about like how this pandemic, like the world stopping our actions and everything, like helped. And you could see in the news that um climate change like slowed down a little bit. You could see animals coming out,
Mhm.
um yeah, like all the wildlife like coming out more easily because there was no one in the streets or in vacations or things like
Mhm.
that. How yeah, well, these also stopping for some months like actually help our environment.
Yeah, I think it did help, but I think in the other hand, is not going to make a difference. Unfortunately, it was just 3 months that pretty much everything stopped. I think the pandemic is going to have a rebound, which is that's imminent. No, the other thing is, in order to actually make a huge change, and you can see, no, that you were mentioning examples such as wildlife coming back to urban, right?
Yeah,
So when you see a bird coming in, is it just not because it's global warming has stopped? It's just the fact that, as you mentioned, this the fact that we don't have people in the streets actually is starting to have some animals coming into the streets and into cities. No, I believe, in the other hand, but this slowdown has helped some some impacts into the CO2, because industry has stopped. No, there's a study I recently read from BBC that stated that industry rates from the auto industry, for example, or for electrodomestics as well, have slowed down around 40%. No? So that's really a huge impact. But in the other hand, more and more people were in our houses, so telecommunications was one of the issues that have all had also an impact. Data centers had also been increasing. You take a look into computers and TVs, that also has been increasing. You go right now, try to go to a supermarket and try to buy a bicycle. Certainly, you will not have a huge lock into that. No, so there are several segments of the market, or the industrial, that have actually is not actually slowed down that much. So overall balance, it's estimated that economic industrial activity has been slowed down to around 30%. Most likely. For example, I work for a company, it's called 3M. So for us, we have not enough factory time in order to fulfill all the needs for respirators, for example. No, so that demand actually has not stopped. We actually make more capital investments in order to try to to keep up with the demand. No, so it slowed down somewhere, but actually has increased in other segments. So the balance actually matches up to 30% of slowdown total.
Okay, yeah, maybe I from the outside that I don't know what's going on like in business or factories like you said. I think like, oh, the
Hmm.
pandemic did good for like all of these, but like you said, they are still working, people still working to cover the demand, so they are still producing, and that means they like their factory is still polluting even
Yeah.
though. Okay, yeah. Okay, in your personal life, what is the impact of the acceleration of climate change?
Well, you see a lot of new standards, new policies from governments. Um, so you see that those efforts to try to achieve, no, actually is driving some policies across some nations. But in the other hand, I think in my home, no, which I think is where you can actually start influencing, no. So we have um, behaviors such as trying to separate trash, for example, no? Trying to use wisely some of the consumables such as gas, no. Yeah, so we try to keep it down. If we're not using hot water, we keep down the heater, right? For example, so we put it off. No, we're trying to be smart not to leave lights on, for example, no, as well. No, so there are several things that you can start, and at the end of the day, uh, one of the things that we're trying to do is also to try to moderate and educate behaviors, no? With the kids, with my wife, no, in order to hopefully, when you are in a professional life, you are capable to make smart decisions, no, in, in terms of what type of raw material I want to use. No, it will depend if it's sustainable or recyclable. No, so
Yeah,
things like that are also things that you actually starting to learn from home. No,
yeah,
so things are also important in terms of how you learn and how you put this back into practice. And it's not always that you're going to be capable to influence Donald Trump and say, "Hey, go back to the Paris Agreement, Donald."
yeah,
Um, but certainly is there are small things that actually can make the change, you know, and
yeah.
that's what
The
you probably
little actions, and if we
exactly.
all do a bit of a part to help, I mean, someday or somewhere it's gonna help a little
Hmm.
bit. Then okay,
Yeah, yeah. It's hard from our perspective that, and you will not believe how much you can actually be influential in those perspectives. You know? So it's amazing when you start seeing, and hopefully the government in Mexico will start also to separate the trash. No,
yeah,
so you are putting it aside, and then the trash collector comes and then mix it all up and take it off. No,
yeah,
but you are capable to influence it that way, putting a letter up to the governor of the department or the municipality that you live in and say, hey, put and you start seeing those behaviors also taking into account and start making changes in the way that we do things day by day as well.
yeah. Because if here in my house and in your house, like my brother and I or my cousins, we start to see those actions, then maybe in the future that will impact us in taking decisions or maybe taking, I don't
Hmm.
know, for example, if I could see like this more from an insight, maybe I could choose a career depending more like on sustainability and all of that if there's an impact in me. So I think
Exactly.
like you teaching my cousins or my parents teaching my brother and I can make an impact and will make an impact, and we will learn from that
Hmm.
one day, I guess. So I think
Exactly.
it's important.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see that behaviors actually is from your house actually makes a difference outside when you move forward. And you don't have to be thinking that you have to be a professional in order to make those difference. No,
Yeah,
I mean, in terms of like yourself, no, that you study in the Tecnológico de Monterrey, and then you start seeing that some of those alternatives are continue to be part of the of the path forward. No, as you see that the tech actually invests in sustainable energy, for example. No, they have big efforts in also in careers that they teach for sustainability, which are new careers that are going to be the base for the near coming future as well.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Okay. Um, so a little bit more thinking about the future. How do you think this is gonna impact it, the future or our
Well, if we
future?
don't take future into our hands, things are going to get very bad. No, so if you start to see how our behaviors is starting to see has been impacted, no, how things are have continued to be changed, no. So CO2 emissions is one of the things that are more and more now. That, in Mexico, for example, we took into account the technical maintenance that we have to do to the cars, for example, no, that you have to go and check in your car for emissions of CO2. That's really a huge thing. It's not only in Mexico; it's actually a global thing. It started back in England. No, so if you continue to see, and this actually ended up that people, instead of making um, a, a better way in order to see how we behave in the future, how things are moving forward. How do you go to school? How do you go to work? How do you, instead of driving a car, you actually take the bus, or you take that? Really are things that could probably make a difference in terms of CO2. No, so recycling. No, that's another thing that is also very important moving forward. No, that you take more conscious in terms of how what is the difference in terms of you buying a liter of milk that is in plastic versus a glass of milk that is in crystal, no, for example, no? And there are several items in that regards that actually can make yourself more and more um, um, cautious in terms of the decisions that you take in order to make investments, no, in terms of your day by day life, no, clothing, for example, no, your shoes, the water that you take, no, instead of buying a lot of water bottles that for a liter for purified water, no, why don't you just invest on a filter for your house, no, that will help you to prevent spending all this amount of money on plastic, no, which is super toxic, no.
Yeah,
Um, so those are things that you're starting to see and taking more effects in our day by day, and certainly are things that you are need to start looking. And also, I believe that it has to do a lot of around education. No? Education is also something that is
yeah,
um, very important, that you also try to understand the effect of the day by day appliances that you use in your house or you use for school, in order to make yourself conscious of the impact that this actually represents to the environment. No?
yeah. Okay. Um. Okay. In your family or also in your community, what do you think that the beliefs are about this issue?
I think there's a little, very little of things that we talk about it. No, I think we should be talking a little bit, a lot more around it. I think there's a good set of efforts at school, no, to start sharing this type of situations, no. But I don't know how much of this actually is a walk the talk in the day by day, no.
Yeah.
In terms of if I tell them that sustainability and the CO2, and then at the other hand, I don't do anything in the store that they sell the beverages or the cafeteria at school, no.
Yeah.
And then you see everything that is disposable, is everything is plastic, and never nothing is recyclable. Then you don't see that huge connection, no.
Yeah.
Um, so I believe in terms of education, the society across Mexico is starting to be a little bit more um, aware of what is happening. I think we need to try to do a whole lot more. Try to incentivize programs with youth at college level, at high school level. No, that could be programs that could be implemented in the environment that you are surrounded by. I think there's a whole lot of things that are needed to continue in this journey of uh, of this issue. No, I believe that we Mexico is behind in a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, the way that we design cities, for example, no, the way you design um, towns, the way you design a school, I think there's very little of sustainability. It's still very expensive. I don't think there is the sufficient um, number of stimulus, economical or financial or stimulus across Mexico in order to start making not even companies. My house, no. What if I take the chance instead of using the electric power from CFE, actually putting a whole lot of solar powers in the roof of my house and actually starting using solar energy, you know, or putting a whole lot of different incentive and say, okay, forget about using water bottles, no, start using the tap water from that we supply from the street, no. That reason why we do that is because we have lack of of interest, and we make it very expensive for everybody to in order to facilitate this type of resources. No,
Yeah.
I think that's the really gap that we currently are facing, and we need to try to address this a little bit more. No, be more aggressive, but also in your day by day. No, instead of saying, "Hey, let's go and buy a box of bottles of water."
Yeah.
Let's try to just probably, if you don't have a filter, you probably boil the water, and you can probably have clear tap water in your house as well. No,
There's
so
other
actually,
options. Yeah.
exactly, there's a lot of options, and I think we just need to try to um, educate. There, we need to find ways to facilitate. I don't think I have not seen a lot in with my kids, a lot of literature around in their books from school. No, I think there's a lot more of this type uh, uh, of material as a need, no, across Mexico and across the
Yeah.
society as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all of this, as you said, like it comes from education, and there is not as much in Mexico, at least as you said, not as much. Um, how can you call it? Maybe environmental like classes and things like that, projects or programs about that related, and that obviously impacts. But as you said, like I'm looking for my career, something to study, and I can see like in all the universities and all the programs and
Hmm.
areas I have seen, like these new areas related to sustainability, like
Hmm.
how they say like the career has is like 2 years old or 1 year
Yeah,
old
it's very
or
new.
things like that. Yeah, and I think that maybe in the future I'm looking maybe to study architecture, and
Hmm.
I saw that there was also like sustainable
Yeah.
architecture, something like that I saw, and that was very interesting to me. And I read like the description, and they said it was the same, but trying to develop a more sustainable life in the cities and all of that. And I think that was pretty interesting. So these careers are new, so I hope maybe in the future, like
Hmm.
all of the people or the the teenagers that are studying this, that are recently studying this, that maybe that can impact in our future.
Yeah. And do you know how old those careers are outside of Mexico?
No, I don't.
What I because I have a friend that he had one of his kids is just starting college, and one of when he's starting looking, he's starting to go for international commerce, you know, and then
Yeah.
he changed after first semester, and then he went to sustainable engineering.
Okay. Yeah.
And one of the things that it was amazing is that this was a teacher. This he was studying in Libero, and one of the he this was the first year where he had for second, first or second year that this career was on. But outside in the United States, for example, this career has been there for 10 years. You
Yeah.
know? Europe, like countries like France,
Ah, yeah.
Germany. They
Yeah.
have been there for 5 years now. So certainly there's a huge trend about around sustainability. There's in many companies there's already a head of sustainability that reports direct to the CEO. The amount of money that people actually, and you tend to take a look in terms of the quality and the reputation of the companies versus in terms of not only the revenue but also among the money that they also do invest in sustainability, for example. No,
Yeah.
we in 3M as an example, one of the things that used to have a product that's called Scotchgard. Scotchgard was it's a molecule that was invented by 3M that had the property to clean up surfaces. No, it was very profitable. And one of the things, even though we had the patent of the molecule, was very harmed with the carbon footprint that this molecule was putting into the environment. And 3M decided to step away from a multi-million-dollar business year over year. You know? So certainly you are. This goes back to the way to in order to make serious decisions, in order to see and try to understand how you really serious and effective you want to impactful you want to be to society. You know? So
Yeah.
um, I think there's a huge room in order to continue to improve, um, to impact the community, and certainly has to do, unfortunately, as many other things around the world with financials, with the
Yeah.
economics. No,
Exactly.
that's the bigger picture. It's
Yeah.
interesting to see.
Yeah. Okay. What is the economic, environmental, and social impact of the issue in on your country or in your community?
Yeah. Well, I believe that this global warming impacted, for example, the and you're familiar to this because to the Caribbean, no, for example, no, global warming has been the impact of the seaweed that is impacting the coast of the Caribbean, unfortunately, leading into Mexico, no.
Yeah.
So that's very huge. Unfortunately, on this the economic scale that Mexico is at with development, also it's very harmful because many of the things that cannot pass in the U.S. environment because of policies, it comes to Mexico to be manufactured. No,
Yeah.
so that also represents a huge challenge for economics of a scale like such as Mexico, because we jeopardize and the commitment that we might have in paper in order to submit or to clear on some sustainability policies, but at the end we jeopardize this because it's going to generate jobs. No,
Yeah.
so at the end of the day, the trademark it's is very harmful. For example, is also mining. For example, mining is a very harm and very non-sustainable industry, and it has contaminated lakes, rivers, killed a lot of people,
Yeah.
and the fact that it generates thousands of jobs a year. No, so that's really the balance. Unfortunately, in the lower scale at my community, I see that fortunately the municipality that I live in, Metepec, it's one of it's taking it a little bit more serious. No, making streets a little bit more clean, making the trash collection. Um, um, Industry a little bit more sustainable as well. No, they start to separate trash. No, so you see the effect of actually putting those things aside. A lot of room to continue to improve in terms of energy. I believe we are a very oil or gas centric type of country. So I
Mhm.
think that's another piece of a discipline in terms of making really a higher impact. No, I believe that electricity is a huge also trend that we need to try to make higher impacts and changes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the policies for this government right now has been to
Okay.
not support wind, wind and solar energy generation. No, that really is not something that is being supported. It's more focused in terms of generating jobs with CFEs and the Pemex and so on and so forth. No, so unfortunately, that really is not allowing us to probably make Mexico to move in a higher speed pace in terms of sustainability. No, But hopefully, with this new generation, just like yourself, no, studying sustainable architecture or sustainability in terms of engineering,
Yeah.
those type of disciplines will help new generations actually trying to make a difference, no, try to make harder commitments into society. I think right now we are uh, in that piece in terms of trying to look not only at the economical but also more also in the sustainable, but we definitely need to make harder choices in order to make actually better contributions to the society.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Some hours ago, I talked to a friend about some of these topics, some of the questions. Also, I asked to him, and for example, I was explaining him about the Tren Maya
Hmm.
and how well climate change depends also a lot in like in our administrations, like Donald Trump, for example, getting out of the Paris Agreement, well, the US, or
Yeah.
here Andres Manuel building the Tren Maya all across the jungle and the peninsula. So yeah, the administrations affect a lot, and also how the others generation, past generations, didn't do as much for climate change, and now it's time for our generation to
Hmm.
actually make a change so we can like live like get to live here in well safely and without worrying that much, but
Yeah.
with like yeah, those careers, for example, the sustainable architecture or engineering and all things like that, well, that's gonna help a lot, I think, because now it's our time to try to make a change or try to fix up
Yes.
how this is going.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I think there's a whole lot of items that we need to try to address and take better choices moving forward. No, I think it's a matter of, and they're not like super complex. No, you think of okay, a sustainable city. No, this is a smart city. That actually does not represent the fact that we need to be third generation, all drawn in type of society. No, it's very simple. No, try to drive a bike, but are the highways properly configured in order for you to drive to school in a bicycle? Bane? How far is your school from your house?
From my house in car, I think like 15 minutes in the morning.
But in distance?
In distance, oh no, I don't know. I can look up quickly.
I was the other day when we went the other day to Tequesquitengo, and then we drove by your house, and I saw there was like 10 kilometers. No,
Yeah, like 10
probably.
kilometers. Okay.
Yeah. So is it around 10 kilometers, 10, 15 kilometers? And certainly that 10, 15 kilometers will probably take you from
Six
10
six
minutes
point
to
five kilometers.
how much?
6.5.
6.5, even better. No, 6.5 kilometers. So take a look, take that into account. Imagine if you can drive in bike every day to your school. No,
Yeah,
how much can you commute back and forward? The less traffic. No, so there's several things that we can
yeah.
probably take. But will you say, will you be feeling safe if
No,
you drive a bike?
totally
Exactly.
different.
No.
Yes.
So it's the same thing. No, if here I live in Metepec and they are building a train from Metepec to Santa Fe. No, my office, when I used to go to the office, I was in Santa Fe. But going back and forward is 35 kilometers. For me was probably 40 minutes commute back and forward, and 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 I will not probably take the freaking train.
Yeah,
No,
no.
the train is dangerous. I don't know if they're gonna rob me inside. No,
Yeah,
if they leave me in Santa Fe, then from the train station to my office probably is another 3 kilometers. I'm not willing to walk. You
mm,
know, the infrastructure is not there,
yeah,
and unfortunately, are not smart decisions, such as the example you were giving in terms of the Tren Maya or the new airport they're building. They throw away. You imagine all the carbon footprint they put down when they were investing in building that new airport, and then Andres Manuel say, "Hey, forget about this. I paid thousands of money, thousands of millions of dollars, just for the penalties of not going through that. And actually, I just turn around and say, hey, let's build this new one up here.
Yeah.
And all this generation contamination, the uses of new cements, the
Yeah.
gas, the
Yeah. Right.
CO2 of the carbon footprint that actually generates that, it's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and it has not to be that hard. No, cities now are cities of Paris, cities of Los Angeles. No, they are now starting to be built in perimeters. No, perimeters that actually allow them. Okay, where you want to go, you can go park, and then you can drive a bike, an electronic motorcycle, or something different, or a scooter. No,
Yeah.
in order to go back and forward. No, and then you started to with the same structure. You're starting to generate and model the way the feelings and people behaviors in order to make it behaviors more sustainable at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
transportation is one of the biggest things as well.
Yeah. Totally. And well, that's for the world to have more cities like, or examples like you said, like in Los Angeles, for example. Well, that's gonna depend on, like, on us, like
Mhm,
us studying more about sustainability and knowing more about that architectures, focusing more on the environmental sides.
mhm,
Well, that's gonna help us, like you said, build more routes and specific routes, like from the train to a place with bikes or electronic, um, yeah, bikes. And so yeah, that's gonna depend a lot
yeah,
on how we act in the future.
yeah. I think the other good thing you were just going back. I think the amount of emissions in terms of the effects of pandemic for climate change, for example, the amount of trips that we the in airplanes, in cars, that right now we are solving with tools like Zoom or
Yeah.
other tools, it's amazing.
Yeah.
No, right now, the team that we work with, we probably in a month we do probably 20 times more customer meetings than before. No,
Yeah.
driving in Mexico City, driving in Sao Paulo, driving in Lima, Peru, it's you are capable only to probably go and visit 3 customers. With this, now we are capable to do ten customers a day.
Yeah,
No?
one after the other after the other.
Exactly. So it's a nice balance. Unfortunately, this commuting and the mission is not going to solve the bigger picture, but actually starting driving behavior. No, starting to drive the way that things, the way that probably schools and businesses are looking to, and how is the future coming? No, you are used to going to school and sit down in a classroom. No, you really need to do that to
Yeah.
learn.
Mm.
Probably to socialize, yes.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, that's
but to learn, certainly no. It's probably another thing that we need to start, taking closer looks into.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay. And the last question is, how do you think the acceleration of climate change is present in our country, Mexico?
Wow. Well, I think you brought out a lot of very good examples, such as the Tren Maya. No, unfortunately, there's the balance between the sustainable versus the economic effort. The force has been more still driven by the economic piece. No, I believe that Mexico has to take a harder a harder approach. No, that will help them to enable better laws to make sustainability something that is feasible in our country. You know?
Yeah,
uh, I believe that until that actually does happen, and we don't have somebody coming in and say, "Hey, I've changed my mind. Let's change everything back up." That's gonna be a harder one. No, but uh, the hope in the near coming future it is that there is a better aspect, a better approach towards new professionals coming into play. No, I think right now this generation, the transition from my generation to your generation, that transition certainly is gonna make a huge jump with the commitment that this can bring into our society. No,
Yeah.
I think goes back down to education, and education is not only about going into colleges. Education is more also about the way the day by day. You know, if you are used to behaving the way that is also sustainable, will help make you better choices in your future because it's the right thing to do. No, it's not because it actually I have the economic balance that I have to be forced to. No,
Yeah.
it's just when you are capable to make decisions because it's the right thing to do, then things is gonna, behaviors and and economies and everything is gonna continue to start um, um, to start, making the difference. No, because at the end of the day, you are you are the future, right?
Yeah.
You are the one that is going to be in a position on a government or in a company that is going to take that hard decision. So the fact is that are you preparing yourself in order to make that
Yeah.
decision?
Exactly. Okay.
No?
Yeah.
So,
That's a good question. Okay. Okay. So thank you very much. That was it, and thank
mm,
you for helping me and for
no, you're very
giving
welcome.
your
Love it.
opinions and perspectives.
No, I love it. And please let me know how it goes.
I will.
All right. You let me know if you need anything else. We
Okay.
can probably contacted you with the head of sustainability in the company or something like that, and have a different
Yeah.
pitch or some other company. Let me know if
Okay.
you care.
Yeah, I will
All
love
right.
that. Okay. Thank you.
Super. You take care.
Okay.
Yeah. Para de grabar.